This week on Barbell Shrugged, we interview CEO of Onnit.com, spiritual experimentalist, human optimizer, and unconventional fitness junkie, Aubrey Marcus.
Barbell Shrugged is brought to you by you. To learn more about how you can support the show, go to barbellshrugged.com and sign up for the newsletter.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1, welcome to Barbell Shrugged. I'm Mike Bletzer here with Doug Larson, and we're in Austin, Texas for Paleo FX. And we have on the podcast with us today Connor Moore. He's filling in for Chris Moore, so he's going to say he's in charge of dick jokes. And then we have Aubrey Marcus from Onnit, CEO of Onnit.com. You guys sell supplements and equipment, and you guys are kind of, from what I understand, kind of focused on MMA and stuff like that to a degree. We're
definitely strongly affiliated. I don't know if we're focused on it, but it's a deep tie.
Yeah, you guys have like a lifestyle brand that's really powerful. It's very impressive to me.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
You guys put out a lot of really cool designs and graphics and things that catch my eye. You have a podcast where you talk about things that really interest me, and so I just find it really fascinating. I think you've got a really cool company going on, and we got to go train. We got to train with you at Onnit today, and it was
loosely. I mean,
awesome.
You ducked out of some of the work. You were there doing your own, but I got to torture the rest of the guys. Any more than like 5 reps, for me on anything is cardio, and no way. I'm out.
Yeah. So, how did you get into the Onnit? I mean, how did that begin?
It begun from early on in my life. I got used to the paradigm of doing things that would affect my performance. So my stepmother was a naturopathic doctor, and so during a game day, I was a basketball player. Game day, I'd have a stack of supplements and a certain meal that I would have to eat, and that would affect my performance. And I got to see what different things did. Oh, maybe bee pollen this time, or whatever it was. I got to used to that paradigm. And then on test day for cognitive enhancement, I'd have another stack of supplements, and I got to see how that helped me perform. So that kind of
like a biohacker.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was like the experiment. Is really what it was. Sometimes it went terribly bad. I was like, what the fuck did you give me? That was awful. I was in the bathroom. It was terrible. It's like, oh yeah, I was just trying something out. We'll go back to the old stuff.
You're like fearless with that shit.
Yeah, I wasn't really that stressed about it. But because most of the time it worked. It's just a few occasional brilliant failures in what was going on.
That's pretty lucky. Most kids don't have access to a naturopath, or at least didn't when I was growing up. I feel like that's like maybe not a more recent development, but I feel like it's more mainstream in the last 5 or 10 years.
Yeah. She was one of the pioneers of that kind of field, and worked with a lot of Pat Riley's teams. So Lakers in the 80s, Knicks in the 90s, Heat, up to currently. And so she was used to dealing with athletes and pretty cutting edge with that. So yeah, certainly an advantage. So I always had that in my head. I went off on this path to form a marketing company, and then really wanted to get back to my passion, which was improving human performance, and doing that through nutrition, supplementation, and fitness regimes.
Yeah. So
how did the ape or the gorilla become y'all's mascot?
Oh yeah.
I want to hear the story.
I got to give a little credit to my partner Joe Rogan for that one, because he's really into embracing the monkey side of who we are. And that's part of what we are. We're a primate at the very body core. There's a consciousness, there's other things that are involved, a mind, an ego, whatever you want to call it, but our animal self is a monkey. And I think embracing that and doing movements and treating the monkey like a monkey likes to be treated is an important part of our philosophy, and of course, like the paleo guys here at this conference we're at.
I was heard Joe talking about the human chimp.
Yeah, that's it. We're just chimps. We pretend we're so much different, but really we're pretty much the same.
Yeah.
You guys have some equipment that's novel to CrossFitters, and I think this is, I think it's something that CrossFitters could start using in their training to change things up. Things like maces, clubs, battle ropes.
Yeah, these things all developed. They're ancient techniques. They actually developed in 12th century Persia when the warriors and the wrestling elite realized that, all right, I'm going to be swinging this weapon in battle, and this weapon weighs 3 to 5 pounds. How do I get stronger at doing that? Well, maybe let's make the weapon look like it's 25 pounds, and then you're overtraining for those movements so that you're stronger when you grab something lighter, you're able to use it. And they pioneered some of the core movements and
strength training for warriors.
Exactly. And it's super functional for that for combat and just for everyday life, helping get the body ready to for daily battle, I guess you could say.
Yeah, just like a baseball player would swing an extra heavy bat right before it gets up to bat, and then the regular bat feels super light. They would do that back in the day, 1,000 years ago, before battle.
Doing that, and then it's also a conditioning. Baseball, that's more of like a timing and getting the muscles loose. You can use the maces and the clubs for that, but it's also, if you stick with it long enough, and use the right techniques, it's a really strong conditioning kind of implement.
So a mace, if no one's seen it before, it's kind of like a kettlebell on the end of a big stick.
Yeah,
which is what my wife calls it. She calls them kettle sticks.
His wife got in last night and was following us on Instagram. She was like, "What's up with the kettlebell sticks?" And I was like, "What are we talking about? What's a kettlebell?" That. And then Doug put it together really quick, and I was like, "Oh, the mace."
It's surprisingly, like, for everyone that doesn't know what it is, it's probably like, "Oh, okay, I can see that now." It's a big long metal pole with a kettlebell at the end of it, just a big heavy ball, and so you're using it kind of like you can use it just like a sledgehammer or like a big shovel or any other random implement.
Man work.
Yeah.
Or woman work, whatever. But, yeah,
Marcy went to work with it today.
Lots of different really functional movements that'll, when you get locked into certain, especially linear movements, you can get really strong. And I think that's one thing that CrossFit's really good at. Really strong, really conditioned. But, working these other odd movements and shapes, without swinging something around your head, you're not going to get the full shoulder girdle, all those muscles under the armpits. Even when you're doing pull-ups and things like that, you're really taxing your lats, you're taxing your rhomboids, biceps, you're hitting the big groups. All those little tiny muscles that have to adjust when this weight is swinging around. Strengthening those is going to help with injury prevention and help with, overall strength.
Yeah, even though I train every day, I feel like even after like the short session that you put me and Connor and a few other people through, like especially in my torso, especially like my sides and like in rotation, I'm going to be feeling that tomorrow. Like I'm going to be more sore than I am normally, because normally I don't do a lot of rotation or anti-rotation work unless I specifically program it. But doing the stuff we were doing this morning with the maces and the clubs, it's hard not to have all these muscles firing, especially on the sides.
Yeah. You're gonna be so ripped tomorrow when you wake up.
I'm gonna be shredded. My F me lines right here are gonna look extra good.
Oh, you're so lucky, Marcy.
Is that the technical name for that?
Fuck me lines?
Yeah,
that's what they are.
That's what the girls call them. I had no idea that was what they were calling. Then
look at Marcy. She's like, "Yep, that's what they're called."
And then, she's blushing over there. I like
that's why I never get late. That's it.
You don't have any.
Oh man, I'm missing out.
You're too fat.
Now you know the secret.
You just need a low ride in the front. People try to do that in the back. They got it all wrong.
I know.
You got to sag in the front, keep it high in the back.
There you go.
It's summertime now, so it's I'll pursue
get those
that
loose board shorts.
Yeah, you gotta get the loose board shorts is where it's at for sure.
You got the long torso. I feel like your shirt will ride extra high, and the girls can really see that.
Yeah, that happens.
Or just cut off, like make it a cutoff shirt.
It's awesome. We don't have to wear shirts or anything around here. Yeah, we just
cruise around. Could you do a fishnet when it starts getting colder? You got to wear something.
That's not Austin. That's San Francisco.
Yeah, we just went to the Castro district real quick.
All right, so you got maces, you got clubs. What's the difference between those two?
Well, a mace is a much longer pole, and it's used in some slightly different movements. It's some of the things that you can mimic are like the sledgehammer movement, like a shoveling dirt movement, and some other, the farther you get away from that weight at the end, the harder it's going to be. So you can really kind of maneuver it that way. The clubs are great for, similar movements in some aspects, but a lot of pullover movements, especially the heavy clubs. And then if you go to the lighter clubs, a lot of really good joint mobility movements.
Oh, yeah, you were testing our coordination yesterday.
Yeah, like working different patterns and different figure eights and things with the clubs. And then with the heavy ones, a lot of heavier pullover, kind of working the shoulder girdle and things like that. But there's so much stuff. I mean, I took you guys through 20 different rounds of the Mace and club. We could have gone on and done something different for the next 2 hours if we wanted to. It's just really versatile once you get into it.
So the clubs kind of look like big, heavy bowling pins almost.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And the ones that we were using between 25 and 35 pounds, something like that.
You got a 45.
You got a 45?
Put
I
Connor.
saw
You're enormous, so it's okay.
I saw that beast walking through the door, and I knew I had to give him the 45.
I got something for this son of a bitch.
Yeah. I'm going to make another one that's even heavier next time. Yes.
Oh yeah, we were looking at Connor swinging the mace, and we're like, man, you like. Was it we were saying if you were in a video game character or something like that, that would be like the weapon of choice for your body type?
I think we're referencing Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
If I was alive, if I was in that world, whatever world that is,
Dothraki, for sure.
oh, dude, that would be great. Khaleesi, though, she's got it going on.
She's banging.
Yeah.
And she has dragons. That's a plus.
Yes, always.
I heard it. I heard that movie, that show is like titties and dragons. And I just
you haven't watched
I just
it?
haven't watched. I don't
What
know.
else
I
is
just
there?
can't seem to find time to fit titties and dragons into my
What will
schedule.
get you to watch a show? If somebody says titties and dragons, I'm like, okay, where? What do I got to do? Okay, cancel my work. All right, we're there.
I was gonna watch it, and then there was some type of barrier that popped up, and I forget what happened. I'm easily distracted, even from titties and dragons.
I don't know.
I mean, I may have
Don't
gotten,
ever ask me for
I
a
might have
film
gotten-
recommendation. 'Cause I got nothing for you.
I might have
Mike,
gotten
so-
distracted by like real titties or something. That might have been what happened, like in life type
Life titties?
situation. Life titties.
You're married, my friend.
Well, that's
Nobody
what might
gets
have distracted
by their wife's titties anymore. I mean, I'm sure your wife is beautiful. Everybody else would probably be distracted by your wife's titties.
All right, so like if we back to the subject at hand here. All right, so when I look at these maces and clubs and stuff like that, it's I could probably think of like 3 exercises to do. But you put together some DVDs.
Yeah, put together a full DVD.
So if you buy these things from from your company, you're not gonna just be like, all right, I'm just gonna
Yeah, what do I do?
hit myself in the head with them.
The
mostly.
DVD, I'll throw out the gauntlet. That DVD is hard. If you do that front to back, that is serious work, especially if you go up in the weights, at least 15. But if you're working with a 20 or 25, it's serious work.
So you're not just teaching movements on the DVDs. There's like a workout plan that you follow.
You follow along. So it's like 6 workout vignettes, like each one kind of focusing on a different theme. One is like working on the arms called Arm Yourself, and then there's Bad to the Core, and different kind of little workouts that I named that are really going to specialize on that. But through the whole spectrum of all 6, you're going to get a full kind of total body conditioning workout.
Next time we name some of our stuff, I'm gonna give you a call. You got way cooler names than we have.
Well, you said you had a marketing company at one point. So you know how to name shit.
That's one thing you get out of a marketing company. It's like, how do I name this? Yeah, for sure.
And you also have the battle ropes, and that's something that you don't see in CrossFit gyms very often. But Chris Moore has some in his garage. I know when we go train over at his house, we love using those.
Yeah, that's an implement that's incredibly valuable. I mean, and again, you said, our affiliation with MMA, we're partners with Joe Rogan, who's a commentator, and friends with all the guys. And so naturally, it really took off in the MMA world because they're extremely focused on what's going to be absolutely functional in combat,
Right.
And in combat, it's an ever-changing, uneven world. You never know what angle you're going to be at, where someone's going to come from. Very rarely are you in a kind of linear position to apply force directly. So they're always working, different aspects. So they've really taken to all the methodologies. And the rope is one of those that, if you're, let's say you've been, running 10 miles and getting your cardio up that way, how are you going to blast your upper body conditioning, effectively without using your legs? It's sometimes challenging. You can do a bunch of push-ups, but that doesn't really get it.
Mm-hmm.
But, adding those Tabata protocol, like a 20 seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest, 30 seconds on, 20 seconds on, whatever you want to do, adding those in really mimics that kind of flurry that they would see in the cage and gets that peak heart rate up. And a way to do that without taxing the legs further if those need to get a rest. So
yeah, especially for guys that have to throw a lot of punches really fast, and then might try to put on a choke and squeeze really hard, get really fat, get really fatigued, and then have to stand back up and throw punches really fast again. Like being able to just sit there and like totally wear out your arms full speed with something that's super easy to do, easy to learn, and is very safe. I think this is something that any MMA gym or any MMA fighter that doesn't have any fitness or strength and conditioning background can pick up in seconds.
No doubt. And that's another great thing about the ropes is ropes are almost, extremely difficult to injure yourself while doing the ropes. It's such a fluid movement.
I think I can figure out how to do that.
Yeah. Is that a challenge?
It's a challenge. I can do it. I've gotten hurt just doing anything.
It's like I sprained my ankle doing battle ropes. How? What did you do?
What did you do? Yeah. I stepped on the rope. Oh.
Okay, I can stand on an endo board and battle rope at the same time. Have you done that?
Oh, fuck yeah, I've done that. I got even one better. There's these boards called cybords. I didn't even break them out. There's boards called cybords, which is like instead of the endo board, which is a roller, and it just rolls one direction. This is a ball inside a rail system. So it's full 360 degrees, and you're just balancing on the point of the ball.
All right.
It's gangster, super hard. When I've discovered that because I was going over to Johnny Hendrick's gym, who's now the 170-pound champ.
Yeah.
And I went over to Dallas, and he goes to meet me, and he's on this fucking board with a dip can in his hand. He's like, "Hey, Aubrey, good to meet you." Like, spitting into this. I'm like, "What the hell are you doing, John?" He's like, "Oh, a cyborg. You should try it." And I get on. I'm like, "What the fuck?" He has a dip can. Just all cocky.
He's just being all casual.
So after that, I was like, "All right, I got to master this and learn it." So we've had it around the office, but it's fairly deadly, but I can now hop on there and do some battle ropes on there. I'm working on doing some of the Mace stuff on there, but that's pretty tricky. Yeah, man,
that sounds crazy.
Yeah,
I want to try it now.
So what else did we use today? We used the steel bells. Those are kind of cool. We use this for a lot of slams.
Slam, yeah, that full slam circuit that I put you guys through.
So it's basically just like maybe a neoprene material that has that's kind of flat like a disc and has a bunch of steel balls in it, steel shot in it. And you can just pick it up and slam it as hard as you can, kind of like you would a med ball. Right. But it doesn't bounce at all.
Doesn't bounce at all.
It dives on impact.
And it works, really helps to work your grip. A lot, again, going back to that kind of combat athlete, when you're working with kind of gi training as well, like jiu-jitsu gi training, a lot of that kind of grip strength, or rock climbers, the grip strength in your fingers and your hands and everything like that, it's going to really help work that, as well as a natural shift in the weight that you don't really see in the med balls, and you can jack the weights up too. I mean, the weights go up to like 100 pounds on that. So really working those slams with that is a pretty cool implement as well.
Yes, we're kind of talking about all the stuff that's unique to you guys that we wouldn't find in a bunch of CrossFit gyms, which most of our listeners are CrossFit competitors or people that train in CrossFit. So you guys have all the regular stuff too. You got kettlebells, and do you guys sell barbells? No barbells?
No, we haven't gotten into that yet. It's the logistics of moving those really long fucking things and we don't really have necessarily a competitive edge on anything. I mean, Rogue's doing a great job selling that, and they got these huge warehouses moving that. Why would they? I mean, we'd consider it because we certainly use it in the gym. I mean, you saw our gym.
Yeah.
But there's no real reason for us to be entering that space.
Yeah, you're just selling the things that are effective, but that are hard to find otherwise.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, speaking of unique stuff, you guys' kettlebells are pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like you guys have like the gorilla face kettlebell, which is probably my favorite, and then you have like demons,
orangutan,
you got a zombie,
and then you got zombies.
So dude, I want those on my mantle at my house.
Yeah, there's people buying them who never use them and lift them at all. For sure.
I would rather like beat up another one, but that would be for show for sure.
So the monkey on the kettlebell or the primate on the kettlebell is based on the size of the primate, right? So they're smaller and the gorilla is obviously
we got like a howler monkey that's 18 pounds, and then a chimp that's 36, and then the orangutan 54, and the gorilla 72.
Right on.
Genius.
Oh, shit.
I know. And then we're coming out with a Bigfoot that's going to be 90 pounds. Sasquatch.
You need to get a big one that's got a Joe Rogan's face on it.
Well, we were going to do a Joey Diaz 100-pounder. We put it out for April Fools. We're like, coming next, the Joey Diaz hundo. Yeah. That's right, cocksuckers. and ever since then, we get hit up all the time. Like, when's the hundo coming out? And then I got a call from Joe. He's like, man, people keep hitting me up about the hundo. We got to do this, motherfucker. We got to do this. And I'm like, okay.
That's just like Joey Diaz.
Yeah.
If you don't know who Joey Diaz is, go on YouTube and just search the Church of What's Happening Now. And watch that guy go.
Yeah, he goes
that
off.
guy is insane.
He's hilarious. Tons of YouTube of him just doing rants and stuff. He's one of the funniest humans on the planet.
Yeah. All right, so Chris Moore and I got to go on one of your podcasts. So you have a couple podcasts. But,
two, yeah.
One of them is Onnit's podcast, and that's what we got to go on yesterday. That was a lot of fun.
Yep.
And what episode is that, if people want to look it up? Do you know off the top of your head?
The latest one. That's what that it's the latest one. Yeah, I don't know. Not really.
You'll be able to find it fairly easy.
Yeah, for sure.
Y'all names are in the title.
Yeah. So to be honest, I haven't listened. I don't think you've listened to any of our podcasts. I don't think we've listened to a lot of your podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
What is it you're most passionate about that you like to talk about on your podcast?
Well, there's kind of a slight dividing line between Onnit and, the Warrior Poet Project, which is my, personal podcast. On the Onnit, I'm really talking about human performance, pushing through your limits, any kind of fitness, nutrition, or just people's life story, how they've been able to achieve what they've been able to achieve.
Yeah.
And then on the Warrior Poet podcast, we really go deeper into the philosophical and spiritual aspects of things, what makes people who they are, how to live, the best, most efficient and happiest life you can. So we kind of divide that, and because generally on the Warrior Poet Project we'll get into things like ayahuasca and the different psychedelic tools and medicines that I've used personally to help me in my life, and we kind of keep that separate from the Onnit protocol. It's not to scare the people who are a little sheltered.
Yeah, I can see that being the case.
Yeah.
So what is it that you're most passionate about? Like what drives you to with Onnit, and then what drives you to let people know about what's happening with the Warrior Poet?
I think one of the main life purposes that I have, and what really fulfills me the most, is we have an amazing opportunity on a brilliant, beautiful fucking planet. We got a great machine that we're driving around in our body. We have a great opportunities to explore this world and have incredible interactions, and so often that's undervalued and squandered, and people don't really get to maximize this, brief chance we have, this blooming of the flower of life that we get to experience. And so really what I try to do is, help people with the tools and the information to empower themselves to, get better and live happier, and find peace, find happiness, find joy, find love, whatever they can do to make this experience better. And Onnit does that on the physical and mental performance side, and then on my other side it's more about cultivating the spiritual side, because I think getting all of that in tune, and even when I say spiritual side, it even just that really just boils down to finding the stillness, how you can find the stillness where everything else drops away, and you can kind of lock into that universal force that surrounds us. And so combining all that, I think can really assist people in living a life that's worth living.
Yeah. So so Onnit has some you talked about mental and spiritual, and I want to get to the spiritual stuff, definitely, but first I want to talk about, you do have some supplements for the mental side of things like New Mood and Alpha Brain. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah, sure. I mean,
because they're different. I mean, they have different ingredients than what you find in other companies.
So a lot of people, when they work on things like the brain, they start generally right off the bat they're putting caffeine in there, which is kind of a trick that makes you think that you're more alert. I mean, what it's really doing is it's causing your adrenal glands to release some some extra hormones, giving you a little bit of energy, but that's going to end up falling off, and it's going to end up being kind of one of those things that over time is going to wear out your body if you continue to do it. And then I like caffeine. I drink coffee and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
But really the most efficient way to do that is to directly affect the neurotransmitters themselves. And that's kind of what the fuel is for the brain directly. So we have one product, Alpha Brain, that's really focused on one of the neurotransmitters, acetylcholine. And that's what's responsible for mental speed, focus, sharpness, mental acuity. And, we put in some natural ingredients, some herbs, Huperzia serrata, which is an acetylcholine esterase inhibitor, something that prevents the breakdown of acetylcholine, and then the raw precursors of acetylcholine, which is GPC choline. And we put those in, and then it just kind of gives your brain that fuel that it needs. And then we round out the formula, putting in some other nutrients that affect some of the other neurotransmitters, like the GABA system and the dopamine system, and also some neurospecific antioxidants and vasodilators. So more blood to your brain, fewer, lower antioxidant burden, and the direct fuel itself in the acetylcholine. And put that all together, and it's been a really effective formula. We just got some clinical trial results back, and it showed statistically significant improvement in double-blind placebo-controlled study in executive cognitive function, verbal memory, a few key areas. We got a much bigger study coming out. So that product is kind of our flagship. And then on the other side of that, we have another product called New Mood that's designed to help facilitate restfulness and the serotonin system. And serotonin is what's responsible for mood, happiness, that feeling of kind of contentment. And we add that with a bunch of anxiolytic, relaxing herbs like valerian, chamomile, ziziphus, and a few different other things. So you have that kind of when you want to be switched on formula with the alpha brain, and then when you're ready to kind of chill out formula in the new mood and boost your serotonin.
I took alpha brain for the first time. Man, I think it was last summer. And I noticed that I could change gears faster. So normally I'm slow. And if I get distracted from a project, it takes me, a good 10 minutes to get back on a project.
Yep.
When I was taking that stuff, I noticed that I could change gears a lot faster. I might get distracted, but then when I refocus, it came back a lot faster.
Sure.
So I'd be interested to see what comes back on the studies you guys are doing.
Yeah. We got one good study in the books, and hopefully the bigger one will just confirm what we've seen. They call that, one of the names for that is synaptic plasticity. It's your ability for your synapses to, kind of connect and literally kind of mesh together so that the connection is even stronger. And, a lot of the compounds in there can help enhance that. And so that's, the ability to shift, back and forth, recall things. Your brain is an energy system of neurons that are, transmitting information back and forth. And the better those connections are, it's like using, platinum wire versus some, other crappy conductor, it's just going to be a lot clearer, a lot crisper when you're getting that signal.
Cool.
So given that acetylcholine is also one of the #1 neurotransmitters that influences muscular contractions, have you guys looked into any performance effects of alpha brain?
Well, we haven't looked into clinical trial format for any of that, but we're working with so many professional athletes now, from fighters to football players to hockey players, and all of them say the same thing, that their reaction time, even some sprinters, we actually had a sprint coach who started using it on sprinters, and it's very difficult to improve reaction time off the line. It's like one of those things in sprinting, they're like, well, you can't coach reaction time. Well, you might be able to supplement for it. And so we're looking to kind of do that. We're just trying to find the right people to study that. But certainly anecdotally, the effect is there, something strong. The ability to recognize a situation and move. Again, if the conductor is moving quicker and easier through your brain, that signal is going to transfer all the way to your muscles even faster. So if
it's helping a sprinter get out of the blocks faster, they hear the sound of the gun and then they think, fuck, I need to go, and then they actually go. If it's making that process happen faster, then you could potentially say, like, maybe a boxer or MMA fighter sees a punch coming, and then is he able to react to that a little bit quicker and can get out of the way, not because he actually is moving faster, he just recognizes it sooner, and so he can start sooner to get out of the way.
Exactly. Yeah, we actually, one of our fighters, Tim Kennedy, who has a fight up, he's fighting Michael Bisping in a couple days on Wednesday, I think. I don't know when this is going to come out, so it might already happen. If that already happened, don't tell me what happened. I'm looking forward to it, everybody. But anyways, yeah, so he was, before his last fight, he was taking alpha brain, and he had a big fight for the troops. And he credits taking that and for hearing his corner, when his corner called out a certain combination, hearing his corner say something and him reacting and knocking the guy out. So, he was like, look, I really, maybe I would have been able to do this on my own, but I really think that alpha brain, helped that process, because he just heard that come and then he just reacted and got a huge knockout and, jumped up on the cage and did the thing that the fighters do. But
my experience with alpha brain specifically, that's the first thing I took from Onnit, and that's been 3 months ago. But training CrossFit at high volume, it gets so monotonous and almost like doing 2,500 meter rows in a day, right? But I noticed I was able to.
Yeah, that sounds hellish.
That is what it is. That's part of it. It's part of being a 230-pound CrossFitter.
Yeah.
Welcome to my life. But being able to stay aware of where I'm at, and it was something like that that's so monotonous, and then being able to go transition into weightlifting, transition into swinging kettlebells, transition into gymnastics, and now even to the next level where we're training for regionals as a team, being able to kind of coordinate the team together. I've noticed just a huge increase in my ability to stay aware of my body and aware of where I'm at and how my output as an athlete in the CrossFit field. I think I'm the only one. Am I the only one that trains CrossFit full time?
Full time, yeah.
Well, I'm not a full time athlete.
Yeah.
Doesn't do anything else. Yeah, besides weightlifting and CrossFit. So,
yeah. In this circle, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, but it was a really unique experience, and it was honest. I didn't even notice it for 2 weeks. I'm like, man, I'm crushing training. What have I changed? And I really only changed one thing at a time.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, man! I was taking alpha brain. That's the only thing that really.
Nice.
You thought it was going to help you read better and stuff, and how you're training better.
And I learned how to read in that 2 weeks as well.
A better monkey.
Yeah. Exactly.
He became literate, and he can train harder.
Exactly. It was great. It's been a really cool experience, especially on the barbell.
Right on.
The barbell stuff has really been, I noticed, because there's minute changes, right? When you're looking at hitting max lifts, and I'm doing a lot of that with the combine coming up. It's been super beneficial in just making small changes and noticing small changes that make it a huge difference when it comes to 100%. Oh yeah, it's been great. Yeah.
Let's take a break real quick. When we get back, I'd like to maybe touch on some of that spiritual stuff you were talking about.
Let's do it.
Yeah. I've actually done that
That's
before.
like,
I've done kendo.
That gets some of the same kind of juices flowing without the actual head trauma.
Just a little bit of fight or flight.
You guys do like kendo training? Like proper?
No, not really.
Oh, just beating the fuck out of each other?
Lacrosse gear and bamboo swords. But I got an open standing $2,000 challenge to anybody who can beat me.
Just posture health? And so it sucks is now I can't, like I have a cool chair in my house and I can't use it.
Well, you could. You're just being stubborn.
Yeah, well, the thing is I like how it looks, but I don't want to sit in it. But I think, like, as far as, like, making the room feel homey, it's good to have, like, nice, cool chairs. So what are the rules?
First to 10 strikes.
So, first person to strike you.
Mike, you should try this.
Torso, neck, or head.
Let's get this on tape now.
Torso, neck, or head? I'll take you up. Let's do it.
All right, I think we got
2,000 on that.
I have a 15-year-old training, formal training.
You've trained for 15 years?
No. When I was 15 years ago, I had some formal training.
Just for a second, he was like, "Oh shit!"
Oh my god,
maybe we should
like,
do
look.
this.
Broke.
No, I was trained 15 years ago in that kind of stuff. I'm probably really terrible at it, actually.
People come into your house, you have no chairs, they'll think you're a psychopath.
Yeah, and the other thing is I have perfect vision, so I feel like I don't get to accessorize as much as those that get to wear glasses.
You realize how you
They
sit
get, like,
you sound like, one, I don't fucking sit in chairs ever. Two, my eyesight's perfect.
My dick is so big I can't.
I don't think
I watched Last Samurai a lot. That was my. I've seen it at
pretty
least like 8
formal.
times.
We were talking about that the other day.
Boy, Last Samurai's one of the greatest movies ever. The greatest Tom Cruise movie.
Everything I needed.
Ruminated, no mind.
Oh my.
But I miss out. Like I get jealous of people that have like cool glasses. I'm like, man, they get to accessorize. I got one more thing. I would probably, if I wore glasses, I'd have like 5 different types of frames.
But if the zombie apocalypse comes and this breaks, I'm fucked.
You are fucked.
Me
Yeah.
too.
I only have an advantage when combat is involved.
Oh, he was the last samurai. Yeah, I totally got it. No, I don't know why that is so romantic. The idea, like, every time you watch them, be like, I'm gonna fucking go off to Japan, man. Just live with some samurai still around. I don't know, probably not, but let's go
That
off and live in the
village
hills.
is highly appealing.
Yeah.
Although it was filmed in New Zealand, and I was so bummed. Oh.
Yeah.
The greatest scene. You can't help but get fired up when he's messing with that kid and he knocks the kid's sword down. The guy comes around the corner and picks it up and starts like beating him down 45 times in a row, and he won't quit. They go, this white man has spirit. Maybe he could be one of us one day. White tiger.
You could just get those clear ones.
Yeah, but then I'd feel like a poser.
Just ended that debate real quick.
The minute Mike posts something up on Instagram of him with fake glasses on, I'm going to let everyone know.
Well, you could get the ones with no lenses at all, so then people don't even know. They know that you're just fucking around. You know what I mean?
Like, I'm just clearly.
I like that.
Intentional posing.
There you go.
Yeah.
Intentional
You're not trying to
posing.
fool anybody.
So if you're an intentional
you got
poser,
glasses with no lenses.
It's like a double
period.
negative. You're not a poser anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
You train the tunes, Aubrey, or you go silent, meditative style?
Oh yeah, and you definitely need tunes.
Oh yeah. What's
Yeah,
your
if I can get tunes and an attractive girl in the gym, I'm like, fucking
This guy cuts right to the chase and has
either.
the most powerful extrinsic
that's
motivating
it.
factors.
That's what I tell the head trainer here. I'm like, one, seriously, you don't need to train me. Just make sure there's a girl in the gym at 5 p.m. Done.
Oh yeah, I'm my strongest. I like look across the gym and there's like 5 girls like bending over, like warming up, and I'm like, big squat.
None of them ever care, you know. So there's no correlation between them ever caring.
They're wearing those clothes for a reason.
Yeah.
You're the one.
No matter what I do, I could be doing the most impressive thing ever, and I'll look around and they're like, they don't even fucking notice. But still, one of these days, one girl is gonna.
Now,
notice.
do you take your shirt off or you leave the shirt on?
I mean, I'd like to take the shirt off.
There, you just take it off. There you go.
That's white tiger.
I watched the new 300. I was not that impressed.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what we were saying.
Not really much of a story.
Nah, you gotta go on with just like
It's not the kind of movie.
blood,
Yeah.
violence, and sex.
There wasn't that much sex in this one, though.
Yeah, but
There's one really aggressive.
There's one really intense one.
Yeah.
I grabbed my wife's hand. I was like, there you go.
Yeah, they just.
Well, even that, I'm like, whoa.
Just smooth that out and bring it straight through. Don't stop. Yeah, just as soon as it goes out, I was just doing that for illustrative purpose, but keep it going. There you go.
oh shit.
Oh,
Ninja mask.
You're doing a juggle too. I was thinking like, for me too, like just going over the shoulder with a heavy club just to stretch your shoulders.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to.
A lot of the basic movements with these is that movement here. So from here.
It's always better than throwing your arm over a bar trying to stretch it.
That to this, and then to this. And then from that, another one that I really like here is the flag.
Oh shit. You post it up, embrace it.
Yeah.
How many times have you hit yourself in the head?
Well, I'm sure there's got to be a few close calls. A few close calls.
Yeah, a few times.
You just check the room, make sure no one saw.
No, I cry and like go into a ball.
I was saying like the traditional meathead will still, even my inner meathead will go, yeah, fuck, it's like a 2-pound club, man, big deal. And when you do it, like I just did that, and all of a sudden I've got a sweat going, my upper back feels great.
Yeah.
And I only needed
Yeah,
a 5-pound chunk of metal. There's a lot of room for incorporating more methods, I think. It's amazing how CrossFit can get so into a track, even though it is random, it is open.
Yeah.
But you see it quickly fall into row, kettlebell swing, this method, that method.
And even the kettlebells. I mean, there's something. Here, let me show you something. Me? Yeah. Some exercises I really like with the kettlebell. So this one is going to be a variation on the windmill. I don't know if you guys ever do these. But basically, you're going to rotate both feet 45 degrees. You're going to have one kettlebell here, one kettlebell here. You're going to go down to here, okay? And then you're going to curl this one up. Bring it up. Switch your feet.
Ah.
Got to cross one leg to the arm.
We are going to bend over with my right leg in front.
What am I laughing at?
Oh! This is not a functional position for that. Fuck. It was all right worth the trip, man. I got stuff to work on.
So yeah, back of the hand, back of the bell, yeah. There you go.
Yeah, so. Let's try that again. Less embarrassing. So.
Yeah.
Here.
Switch.
Okay. Forgot the curl.
Yeah.
How can you forget the curl, man? It's the most important part. How's you gonna get chicks?
Yeah.
Without giant biceps. Oh yeah.
Full call swings.
Oh, yeah, I got it.
everything by name.
Go, Mike.
Go, Mike.
Come on!
Come on, Mike.
Go, Mike. Run.
Fuck yeah! Good, sir. Big PR. Hell yeah. Woo! Oh, you look like
Alright, so here's all the moves that I like to do with the ropes. There's the alternating, and you can really drop low, or you can move to give a little variation on that. And then you can switch to underhand grip, which is more of an uppercut. Oh shit. Same thing, that hits the biceps a little bit more. And then with this same grip, you can go to the hip toss move. All these translate pretty well to MMA and fighting. This is like the hook. The other ones are like uppercuts. Other one maybe like a ground and pound. And then of course, there's the double slam. You're doing, and there's the jump double. And then there's a couple more. There's this one really hits the delt. And then another one called the warrior, where you turn to the side. Like this. Good for the core and your obliques. There's some of the one-handed ones where you go like that. That one's for everyone on the side.
The first one came out the night before I had a big powerlifting show. It was like the perfect situation. Like, I was taking the meat a little too seriously, of course, like 300. Like, you couldn't help it. Your meat head just swole with pride. Like, I will go into battle. I will defeat the weights as those warriors defeated their challengers. The kind of stupid shit you say when you're like 25. The perspective is all wrong. But it's amazing that movie was lightning in a bottle, man. Like you cannot repeat that. You can't go back and try to.
No, the original 300 was legit.
Yeah. Too legit.
What was the second one even about?
Pretty tied to the whole
Ships.
CrossFit movement too. Bill's pretty key for that. I mean, Jim Jones got
that's what I was going to say.
It pushed it forward in a big way.
And
People still talk about it.
From there, that kind of really.
That did help. I mean, I remember watching the video and going, oh yeah, they did like CrossFit style training.
Can you boil it down to the fact that those guys have huge, awesome abs? I want those abs. They did CrossFit stuff.
No,
They
it's
just
like,
didn't look like traditional movie heroes. You know, they were like, holy shit, these guys
it
are
looked athletic.
real athletes.
Yeah.
And then Gerald Butler or whatever hasn't done shit worth watching since, I guess. He's done a lot of romantic comedies. It's got out of shape.
He went hard with the rom-coms after that.
He got-
He's a rom-com specialist.
So you got really in shape for that one movie and grew this awesome beard, then you didn't do anything awesome ever again. Like, that was your peak.
Has he killed anyone in a movie since then?
Well, yeah, he did like
Just
That's the measure of how manly of an actor you are.
just the men who had to see his movies. Gerard Butler's gonna watch this. Fuck you guys.
All right, welcome back to Technique Quad. I'm Doug Larson with the Barbell Shrugged podcast. This is video number 2 of the squat series. Video number 1 was an overview video. We talked about air squatting, goblet squatting, and a little bit about learning how to squat off of a box with Gray Cook's reverse patterning concept, which I think is super, super cool. So if you're looking for the basics of squatting, definitely check out the overview video. We'll touch on a few of those things again in this video, obviously, since we're talking about front squatting. A lot of the concepts as far as squatting down are the same. Really just your hand position is changing and the distribution of the load is changing a little bit, so it alters your mechanics slightly, but really it's all kind of the same thing. So check out the overview video, video number 1. Today we're talking about front squatting. So first thing that you need to know if you're trying to front squat is how wide to grab on the bar. What I like to do to start with is just put your hands right out in front of you. You're doing the zombie thing, and then see basically where you grab. So from here, I usually tell people to put 3 fingers, maybe even 2 fingers, depending on how mobile their wrists are and their shoulders are. I put the pads of my fingers only, so I'm not grabbing like this, just the pads right underneath where your nails would be, right there. And I step forward, I put it on my, like right above my collarbones, right on my neck, and then again with just the pads of my fingers on the bar, I'm going to rotate up and I'm going to put my elbows forward as far as I can. I'm going to step forward. From here again, elbows as high as I can, and then I'm going to let go like this. And this is the shelf the bar is going to sit on. You don't need your hands to front squat. So I like to teach the zombie squat like this first. That way you can see if someone's really able to get all the way down with good technique and they're not compensating. They're not compensating by bending over and the bar's tearing up their wrists. Okay? So start with the zombie squat. When you're teaching the front squat from here, I should be able to go all the way down just like this, and the bar doesn't roll forward. It's very correct if you get instant feedback if you roll forward, because the bar will obviously roll off of you.
Zombie, zombie.
I don't know what you're talking about. All right, so zombie squat first. Again, pads of the fingers, usually right in front of your shoulders. You don't need to have your hands way out here. There's a time and place where some weightlifters like to have their hands super wide, like when they're going to jerk, But for the most part, right out in front of you is going to be the easiest place to start. Then you can ratchet your hands out over time, okay? So 2 fingers, pads, walk forward, put it against your neck, elbows as high as possible. And then I'll teach the rest of the front squat technique from this zombie squat position. So my elbows need to be at least as high as the bar, okay? Maybe even a little bit above the bar. That's ideal. From there, again, just like a regular squat, feet shoulder width apart. I can toe out a tiny, tiny bit, weight on my heels. My butt's not gonna go as far back as it would on an air squat or a back squat. I'm gonna have to stay pretty vertical. My knees are gonna go out, staying on my heels. And then at the bottom, I'm still pretty vertical. My back is not rounding. I have a very vertical torso. My knees are wide over my feet. They're not diving together. My hands are high. My knees are not in. They're out. Weights on my heels, good posture. And then I stay vertical and I drive through my heels on the way up, okay? This is different from a back squat. That's different than a more traditional powerlifting style back squat. A high bar Olympic squat's a little bit different. We'll touch on that on the back squat video. But with a front squat from the side, I'm gonna be pretty vertical. I'm not gonna go butt back when I front squat, because when I go butt back and I bend forward, my elbows go down. When my elbows go down, now all the weight is forcing my wrist into hyperextension. That's how people get super achy wrists, because their elbows are always down, especially if they're grabbing the bar. You see that all the time where people grab the bar first, then they go like this, and their elbows are down, and then they try to squat like that, okay? And then they do a bunch of thrusters like that, and their wrists end up understandably pretty damn achy. So you never want to start like that with your hands all the way closed. There's a time and a place for that. If you have really good mobility, really good front squatting, you can front squat with your hands closed, but most people probably can't when they're first starting out. That's why I like to start with just 2 fingers, pads only, and then as I rotate through, my fingers are straight, and just the pads of my fingers, like I would take a fingerprint with, are on the bar, just like that, elbows all the way in front of me, okay? So that's the basics as far as how to get into a good position. You can come here, and then if you really can't, if you're always doing this and you really can't correct that, and you even have problems with the zombie squat, some people just can't do it. They go like this and like they don't have any shoulder muscles and they just always lose it. I will let people do this sometimes. I do this myself sometimes if I have achy elbows actually. I get front squatter's elbows, what I call it. You can do kind of the bodybuilding style grip. There's nothing necessarily wrong with it, but I'd say it's not ideal, because if you're gonna catch cleans and whatnot and do thrusters in CrossFit, it's better just to be able to practice here instead of being like this. But there's still nothing necessarily wrong with it. You'll still get strong legs, you know, and strong total body strength from squatting just like this. All the mechanics of your lower half are more or less the same. So you can do that. The other thing you can do if you really can't do a regular kind of rack front squat grip is you can tie a strap or 2. Just use like a strap you'd use to pull extra weight off the bar. Use a strap tied around, and then you can just hold the strap like that, and then it makes it where you can still be here where you're externally rotated and your elbows are high, and you're not fully internally rotated like this, which I feel like helps this position, kind of destabilizes your scapula just a little bit compared to being here. You're a little more stable because your arms are fully externally rotated. It's easier to get your shoulder blades a little more together when they're not rolling forward and whatnot. So having a strap is an option. I didn't even think to grab straps before this video. All right, so a second ago I really didn't think to grab straps because I wasn't going to talk about them, but I tied some bands on here. It doesn't really matter what it is necessarily. Just grab these bands. You can just come forward, come up like this, and then you can front squat like this, and there's, again, nothing necessarily wrong with that. A lot of power lifters do this because they won't necessarily have the mobility if they're really big guys, or they spent 15 years trying to bench 600 pounds. Then it's hard to front squat in that case for a lot of people. So having a strap makes it really easy, where you can be in basically the same position, but instead of your fingers reaching the bar, the strap's reaching the bar for you. So that's a great option.
Real quick for the folks, since you've been unracking it like that, do you want to
Oh, yeah.
You want to tell them that you were doing that for the video so everyone's not an asshole at their gym?
Yeah. You're going?
Yeah.
All right, CTP had a good point about how not to be an asshole at your gym. For the video, I was here and I was walking the weight out this way and then squatting. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but for the most part, you're not going to be doing that. You're usually going to be facing into the rack. You'll walk backwards when you're fresh, and then you'll do a bunch of reps, and then when you're tired, you'll come in and you'll rack the weight. I usually go all the way in and then down. That way you don't go halfway in and then miss it and drop it, which there's nothing wrong with dropping a bar. Drop it on the ground, no big deal. But if you miss the clip and you don't expect it to fall into you, especially only half the weight, it's probably going to hurt. And then if you don't have clips on, the weights are going to slide off, and then the bar's going to swing over and it's going to crack someone in the head and they're going to die. So you don't want to do that. The other thing that we didn't talk about, in fact, let me put on a plate real quick. All right, last quick thing, we're going to talk about missing lifts and spotting. There's actually nobody else here, so I can't really demo spotting for you, but what you can do is, since front squats are a relatively safe thing to do when you're getting tired, you can just squat down, and when I'm here, it's easy. I just drop the weight on the ground. It's no big deal. If I have, I don't want to demo spotting. Okay, well, I was going to talk about spotting, but there's no one else here, so I can't really demo it for you. What we just decided we're going to do is we're going to do an entire video dedicated to spotting for the front squat, back squat, and overhead squat, which, top secret, you don't spot the overhead squat. So we'll talk about that in a different video. If you have any questions about squatting or anything else, or you want to check out any of our other videos, you can go to barbellshrugged.com. Click on the episodes tab at the top of the page. Click on Technique WOD. You can check out all the videos in the library. I'll see you on video number 3 for back squats.
And we're back. And we just discovered we have 5 minutes left to do the show. So can you wrap up your ideology on spirituality in 3 minutes, and then leave you a couple minutes to plug your stuff?
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the key to me in spirituality is that, I really look at a human being in 3 parts. And I look at, obviously the monkey, what's going to best benefit the monkey, and that's the body itself. And then I look at, the mind. And the mind is generally something that can either be, it's great at solving puzzles, and it loves solving puzzles, and it's really good at that, but it's very difficult to shut that off. And oftentimes we identify with only the mind. We think that's all that we are. But to me, in all the work I've done, I've really felt that there's a third part, and that's your kind of higher consciousness. What happens when the thinking process falls away? And that is really what spirituality is to me, is finding the stillness, however you want to do that, through meditation, through float tanks, through psychedelics, so that the mind can fall away, the body becomes inconsequential, and you can really tap into whatever that animating force of life is that makes us go. Whatever it is when our body drops and falls, whatever that thing is that remains. And to me, I've been on a path of using some of the traditional medicines that these indigenous cultures have used for thousands of years, and that's really helped show me what I'm trying to attain in some of the other practices which I do more regularly, like meditating and floating. And I actually think that's one thing that ties in very well, even here at the Paleo Conference, but nobody really wants to talk about it. There's evidence of psilocybin use, mushroom use, going back 40,000, 50,000 years to the cave paintings. Terence McKenna, of course, has the stoned ape theory, thinking that, taking magic mushrooms, psilocybin mushrooms, has actually improved and increased the speed of evolution of man from monkey to human. And I think there's some credible evidence to that that's even coming out now. I mean, studies showing neurogenesis from some of these psychedelics. And there's a lot there to be explored, and I think it's an intrinsic part of our past and our history and what makes us human. Unfortunately, it's been demonized and villainized, and only recently, with the allowance of scientific studies like the study in Johns Hopkins, where they gave people a psilocybin experience, and unequivocally, like over 80% said it was one of the top 5 best experiences of their life. From palliative care at the end of life, these physicians giving people at the end of life a dose of psilocybin, and some of the top care physicians saying they accomplish more in 3 hours than they have in 3 years.
That's like accepting that they're going to die
And it's just accepting that all of this isn't the only thing that's there. You
Right.
know, that just really kind of identifying that third force, that animating force, you know, that will persist. And, you know, I think there's been a lot of reasons that have swayed people away from that. And I think, you know, you have to look at some governmental controls and some religious ideas. But it is a part of who we are. And I think for me, the spirituality is just recognizing that and allowing that to flourish and being conscious of that. And once that's conscious, everything else can kind of line up. But you got to go do it for yourself. You know, you can't listen to anybody else talk to you about it.
One of the questions I get a lot of times is, you know, hey, I want to get started meditating. What's a good resource for me to tap into? And I think, you know, a lot of times there are instructors in certain cities that are really good, but there's most people don't have access to someone directly. Is there any resources that you recommend?
Yeah, you know, I would really try and find a float tank, because one of the things that I like about that is it's going to show you what you're going for. You know, otherwise
Right.
when you're meditating, you're just kind of doing it like, oh, is this right? Am I doing it right? I don't know. I don't know what the fuck, whatever.
Float tank almost forces you.
Yeah.
into
Well,
Until
2-second
you
explanation. What is a float tank for everyone that doesn't
So
know?
a float tank's a sensory deprivation tank where you're lying in 900 pounds of salt water. So you float completely, and the water is the same temperature as your skin. It has no smell. It has no vision. It's completely dark and no sound as well. So your brain is constantly tuned to the different signals that's going on. Oh, that's a bird flying. Oh, I see the flags flapping. There's wind that's touching my face, and I can feel my feet planted into the earth. We've been standing for 40 minutes, so I'm starting to feel the muscles. You know, the muscles adapt to that. All of this signal is going on constantly, and the idea of the float tank is just to let that all fall away completely, and your body's just like, oh shit, I don't have anything to compute now, and your mind's like, yeah, I'm done too. So the only thing that's left is that other thing, that consciousness that's allowed to come through. So I think doing something like that, there's other ways to do it. There's something called holotropic breathing or shamanic breathing, where you actually take in a bunch of oxygen, and that allows you to, you know, in that process find a certain stillness. It also makes your hands go like that. It's really kind of odd thing to do. And then of course there's the medicines, and unfortunately they're illegal here, but you know, you can go down to Peru, or you go down to some of these places and work with the people who've been working with the medicines for thousands of years. I will say as a caveat though, you know, not all those people are good, and it's you know, you got to make sure you do the research and talk to people who've been, and make sure you're going to see a real medicine carrier, not just someone trying to take advantage of, you know, psychedelic tourism, because that's certainly a risk. But it's the easiest thing to do is start here, and you know, go to a tank, do some breathing, and then, or just, you know, kind of learn about the meditation practice itself. Once you know what you're going for, then there's all kinds of ways to get there. You can focus on the breath coming in through your nostrils. You can focus on what's, you know, the images that are coming through your head. You can start a chant like transcendental meditation. You can do a chant, or you can just sit and find the stillness. So lots of different ways to do that.
Cool. Thanks for that. That's
right on.
It's a great explanation, a good starting point. You can just probably Google float tank in your town.
Yep.
And hopefully, I mean, if you live in a big city, you'll find something. But you know, it might be worth, you know, driving a few hours to go find something like that. I've floated a couple times, and it's been fantastic. One of the best experiences I've ever had. So
it's good for the body too. Good
yeah.
for the body too.
Oh yeah. Very relaxing.
Yeah.
Anything you want to promote right before we get off?
No, if you want to keep up with me, I'm at Warrior Poet US on Twitter and on Facebook, Warrior Poet US. Got a really active page there. My own podcast, Warrior Poet Project. And then, yeah, anything on the nutrition and fitness side, go to onnit.com, ONNIT.com.
We're episode 28, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, and check out that podcast. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
with,
episode 28 with Chris Moore and me on your podcast.
Yeah, on
great.
the Onnit podcast.
Very cool. All right.
Thank you, my friends.
Appreciate it.
Later on, brother.
All right, later.